those of you that don't actually know who I am, my name is Remy. I'm the newborn father. I'm a professor at a couple different universities, and I teach film studies and English, which means literally fucking nothing when it comes to the Newborn Father podcast. And the reason for that is because, in spite of all the degrees that I have, all of the tutelage and advising and guidance and help that I've had through my life in terms of my own occupation and my own life experiences, none of that shit means anything when it comes to handling a little ball of fucking clay with arms and legs, because you're pretty much on your own. And for me personally, I live about 800 miles away from my family and the friends that I grew up with. So we're located right now in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I grew up in the Syracuse area of New York. So, and my wife did too. So we're out here. It's my wife and I and our newborn son and our two dickhead dogs and our two lazy in the way cats. And that's it, right? So we have friends out here. You know, this is not a sob story. We have friends out here, but there's no family. There's nothing like that. And they visited. So a couple of weeks ago, my brother and his wife and my two nieces came out. And my older niece is 4. My younger niece is about 18 months. And we had a lot of stuff planned. We had, and if you're familiar with the Milwaukee area at all, the State Fair ran last week and a half ago, and we went to that. And I'll get into some of this a little bit more. So we went there, and then at the end of the summer, out here in a little town, Racine, Wisconsin, it's really Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin, we have the Jelly Belly warehouse. They call it the Jelly Belly factory, but they don't make fucking shit at the Jelly Belly quote-unquote motherfucking factory. It's a warehouse, okay? They actually make the shit in California. So they have this warehouse in Racine/Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin, and they're closing this shit at the end of the summer because it's worthless, right? They employ, you know, maybe a dozen people at this point. I'm sure they employed a lot more. And I love jelly beans. I love candy, right? I grew up as a fat kid. And when I say a fat kid, I don't mean, you know, little bit of pudge here and there. I mean, by the time I graduated high school, I was 320 motherfucking pounds at barely 6 foot. I was a fat motherfucker. I loved candy, regardless of what it was. I was the only person that I knew in my neighborhood that ate candy corn willingly, okay? And not just the little, the teeth-shaped candy corn. I'd be all over the fucking pumpkins, all that shit. So we wanted to go to the Jelly Belly factory before we even had our son. My wife and I said, we got to go to the Jelly Belly factory. So once we realized my wife wanted to go and I wanted to go, and then my sister-in-law and my brother wanted to go, and his 2 daughters, my nieces, love jelly beans, we realized it was now or never. They were going to come out. Place was going to close by the end of the summer. We better fucking go or we're not going to be able to go. So we go. And the first thing we realize is we get on the tour and they tell us before there's like a little quote-unquote train. And it's really just a little cart, right, with a few cars on it. And they take you around the warehouse and, you know, it's fine. I'm sure that this was much more of a spectacle well before they were planning on closing this place. It was the saddest experience that I've had in a long, long time. So we went through, and it's clear that it's more a warehouse than anything. They don't really make much candy there. And all of the shelves in this warehouse were next to empty, right? I'm sure at some point they probably employed 3-4 dozen people. There was maybe 10 people working when we went on the tour. So it was clear that they were closing up, and there was, you know, in maybe a 1,200 square foot space, there was, you know, maybe 3 dozen pallets of boxes that were sitting there on the shelf. So we go through, and the tour really consisted of nothing more than driving us around the perimeter of the warehouse and showing us some shit on the TV screens. Which, as much as I like jelly beans, I really didn't give a shit about the history of jelly beans, honestly, let alone the history of Jelly Belly. I mean, it's fine, and maybe once upon a time kids were interested in it, but, it is what it is. So we round this one corner, and the first funny thing let me retract. The first funny thing that happened was as soon as everybody gets in the car, they tell you that everyone needs to be wearing some kind of headwear during the tour. Like they make candy there. All right. So they give everybody these kind of 50 Styles diner hot dog serving hats. You guys know it, the paper hats. You know what I'm talking about. And they give everybody these and they have everybody put them on. Well, I was wearing a ball cap. So as a goof, just, to have fun, I had the nieces with me. I put it on over my baseball cap, which, I got a chuckle. My niece thought it was hilarious, my older niece. The second the car took off, that thing flew right off the back of my head. It was just, boom, just gone on the floor. So everybody in the cars following ours, and we were pretty far up front, decided that was the most hilarious thing that they'd ever seen in their life. So it really honestly wouldn't surprise me if it's like Goatlier or some shit like that. The guy that founded the Jelly Belly factory, it takes so much time to put the effort into a jelly bean to make it taste exactly like a particular fruit. You've got to have something wrong in your head. So it wouldn't surprise me if the founder of Jelly Belly was the accomplice of Willy Wonka, just terrorizing hookers a la Jack the Ripper when they were in their stride. It really wouldn't surprise me at all. So we go through this tour, and it's a whatever situation. It's just what it is. And we round this one corner, and there's this huge promotional poster tying in Jelly Belly to the release, the theatrical release, as the poster would have you believe, impending theatrical release of the Ant Bully. And at that point, all kind of interest was gone, at least in me personally, because they couldn't even take the effort to take that fucking poster down. And that came out, in, 2006? 7 at best? I don't even know. I don't know. My kid's 9 weeks old. He's not old enough to force me to watch kid shit yet. So that was still during my law. I was drinking a lot when the Ant Bully came out, so I don't remember it. Fucking sue me, okay? All right? Give me a fucking break. I don't know exactly when it came out. I just know that it's not impending for release. The shit's been on DVD for years, all right? So I'm totally disconnected at this point. So we get done with all of this, and we enter the store for the actual experience. So the experience isn't on the tour. The experience is in the store itself, where you can get all manner of jelly beans. You can get those Bean Doozled or whatever they are, where you have 2 white ones in the package. One tastes like coconut, one tastes like baby wipes, right? So I got some of those just to fuck with people, because that's fun to me. And we're walking around, we're having a good time. The nieces are having a blast, and that's all I really cared about. It's the only reason we went. And I get a tickle in my nose. And it doesn't exactly smell like something that should be in the Jelly Belly store. And I look over at my wife, and her nostril is flared in the same way that mine is. And we realize at that exact moment that our son had decided to obliterate his diaper as forcefully as he possibly could. So we're trying to deal with it, but we realize as we're walking around, we have him in the stroller, we realize as we're walking around that he is ruining the store experience for anyone that's coming within about a 10-foot radius of wherever he is in the store. So I say, baby, I cleaned up the last shit diaper. Can you take him in the bathroom, see if there's a changing station, take care of him? So she said, all right, begrudgingly, because every time either one of us handles a shit diaper, it's always begrudgingly, because if you don't have children. Trust me, it will always be begrudgingly. She goes in, she comes out about 30 seconds later. She says, there's no changing table in there. She has to take him out to the car to change him. And that was the first experience that I ever had with this kid where he radiated stink to such an extent that people could not be around him at all. And as disgusting as that is, I couldn't possibly have been prouder of my son than I was in that moment, because that's a skill that usually takes time to learn, and that skill is getting people to leave you the fuck alone, and he already at least has the skill of shitting your pants under his belt, so I couldn't possibly be prouder of him. That's a skill that will follow him through the rest of his life, and when he has job interviews or interviews with colleges that take a drastically negative turn, he knows he always has that tool in his belt that he can pull out and just defecate with the largest ferocity that he can muster, and that will get him out of that situation. So, again, 9 weeks old, the kid is finding his way. He's finding his way in the world, and I couldn't be prouder. So, a few days ago, he sleeps from about 7:30 to roughly 3 in the morning. And it's the longest that he had slept up to that point. And my wife became really worried about what was going on. And I promised her, I said, baby, the peds, by ped, we mean pediatrician. Yeah, there you go. Term for those exhausted parents in the know. Ped. It doesn't always mean pedophile. So, we had talked to the ped. The ped said that as long as he's eating within 9-10 hours, and as long as he's continually pissing diapers and he's shitting at least one per day, then he's fine. So she gets really worried. I said, baby, he's fine. He's fine. And what I really meant on the inside was just let me fucking sleep, right? Stop worrying about our son out loud, because I'm not worried about him. And if you want to be, just be worried about him silently, right? I said, you know what? If he needs to be seen, if he doesn't eat and he doesn't piss in the next 10 hours, I'll call the ped, or I'll buy you a footlong as retribution for that. And that immediately came back to bite me in the ass after the recent news of the ranch dressing spoilage at Subway. So, I had to retract that immediately. And, the fact that our ped's name is Pamela Gerritsen doesn't really kind of translate well at the same time. But she knows. All right, whatever. Fuck you. She knows what she's talking about. She's fine. She's a good woman. She coddles him, and she takes him out of my hands when he's being fussy in the office. And that's 5 minutes that I can sleep in the shitter, because every time somebody takes him, I always excuse myself to the bathroom, because that's a quickie nap that I can get. And that's another thing that I can tell newborn parents. The term quickie changes its definition once you have a newborn. It changes from the understanding of a quickie as a quick round of sexual interaction, not even necessarily with a significant other, just, whatever body is closest to you. It changes from that immediately to where can I find a cobweb-infested corner that I can get 5 minutes of a nap in. And I love spiders now. I didn't used to, but they cuddle well. So that it helps, and they tickle sometimes, but it's all in love. So we had that experience, and he snapped out of it. He was fine. It was a whatever thing, and it just passed. So the last story, because I always, for those of you that are new, I always go in sets of 3 with stories. So I always share 3 stories per episode. This is episode 4, by the way. And I have a little bonus story that I'll throw in there. But my third kind of main story is what happened today. So we had a fairly lengthy grocery store stay with our son, and he was excellent. He slept through the entire thing, the whole time. We spent about an hour minutes. There you go. We spent about an hour. If that doesn't give you a hint at what being a newborn parent is, I really don't know what is. We spent an hour, otherwise known as 60 minutes, in one grocery store that we went over. We spent about a half an hour in another one, and he was flat out the entire time, and we loved it. It was fantastic. We get him home, though, and it was about 5-10 minutes after we got him home that he decided that he was going to be really fussy and that he needed to eat. And that's fine. I have no problem feeding my child. Neither does my wife. Please don't call CPS. So I'm feeding my son, and he's all about it, and he's killing it, right? So he just upgraded from 3 ounces to 4 ounces, and he is just wolfing this down like there's no tomorrow. And he kills it, and I put him. He's got a little semi-upright chair, maybe at about I would say 65, 70 degrees. And I strap him in there, and my wife and I go outside for a cigarette because we're newborn parents. So we pull him over by the door, and we're just letting him do his thing, and he loves it. He loves staring at our kitchen cabinets. I cannot fucking tell you why. They're white with silver knobs, and they're hilarious for some reason. So he loves sitting there, and we're having a cigarette, and I'm kind of eyeing him out of the corner of my eye. And that's another thing. Like professional drummers, they always tell you when you're learning drums, you need to learn how to disconnect your legs from your arms. As a parent, you learn pretty quickly how to disconnect your eyes from one another. Mothers end up with that third eye in the back of their head. Guys cannot do that. We just can't. So we end up with the lizard eyes going on. So I caught my son spit up as we were having a cigarette. And as he spit up, he first spit up as would normally be the case, via his mouth. So he's spitting up, and about halfway through, he immediately spits up out of his nose simultaneously, which is not something that I am accustomed to. To see formula coming out of his nose as if he had a nosebleed was something atypical for me. It was not an experience that I was used to. So I was a little worried about him at first, but he was ultimately fine. So there was that. So we continue our cigarette. I go in, I clean him up, I come back out. We're finishing our cigarette. We turn and we see him grunting with a face that was the color of a cherry. And we know that is the sign that he is in the process of a healthy shit. So I say, okay. I let him finish up. I say, baby, it's okay. I got it. You got the last shit diaper. I'll take this one. So I take him upstairs, and I unbutton his onesie. And as I'm unbuttoning his onesie, holding him in my arms, I'm wondering why the back of his onesie is wet. And I lay him down, and it is then that I realize that this is, at 9 weeks, his first blowout diaper. And my son wasn't going to cut corners. He had shit up his legs. He had it all over his onesie. He got it all over the cover for the changing pad. He had it up his back. He had it up his stomach. He had it around his waistline. He went for the gold and achieved. If there was a platinum, he would be standing at the highest precipice of whatever the most extreme sport of the next Olympic Games is. He won the day. So after about 20, 30 wipes later, a new diaper, then a bath, then a second new diaper, and then another onesie, he realized that he was good to go. And after that experience with the blowout and the milk through his nose, he then, for the most part, sat with me on my lap at 9 weeks old and watched the pay-per-view. And as we watched the pay-per-view, he had roughly the same reaction to every match that I had as it was going on. So those are the three main stories that I really wanted to share with you guys this week in terms of my new or up-to-date experiences that I hadn't had as of yet as a newborn father, but I do have one more, and it's just a very small one, and that is that this week's episode was really initially inspired by my wife, because we realized as we were walking through the store, this was about a week ago, I didn't quite have enough material in terms of stories to finish up my fourth episode. And it was after this blowout today that I absolutely did. But we're walking through the store about a week ago, and we're kind of joking about combinations of things that you can buy that you can really kind of force your cashier to scratch their head. So I said, well, all right, so if you walk up to a register at Walmart with garbage bags, rope, and lime, you're probably going to have some weird looks, but you're still probably going to make it to the car. You're still probably going to be okay. You're probably going to be just fine. To which my wife said, well, fucking do it, because she's a smart ass. So now she's dared me to buy lime. I don't even know if Walmart sells lime, actually. I'm going to have to check on that. If they sell lime, then I'm going to have to do this, because no woman is going to win a fucking bet against me. All right? Seriously. She bet me to buy garbage bags, lime, and rope at Walmart, and nothing else. But you know what? In tribute to Roddy Piper, I'm buying lime, rope, and garbage bags, and a pack of fucking chewing gum. And I'm going to walk up to the register, and I'm buying that shit. And I bet you 10 to 1 I make it to my car, and no cop stops me between my car in the Walmart parking lot and my driveway at the house. I bet you it doesn't happen. I'll keep you posted on that one. But what we realized is that the combination of shit that we were buying that day was about as, well, not quite as ridiculous, but it was pretty ridiculous. We needed dish soap, and you can't just buy, well, I mean, you can. It's not going to kill a kid. You can buy just regular dish soap. You just have to be really careful. But we're not, honestly. So anytime we can find anything that's natural-based to cover for our own inadequacy or our own lack of attention to detail, the better. So we have found natural dish soap, and that's what we wash our dishes and specifically his bottles with now, because we don't need to fucking worry about it anymore, right? It's like corn-based or some shit. Like they make silverware out of corn now. I don't fucking know. Whatever. It's natural. That's what it says. It says it won't kill your kid. All right? It doesn't say it exactly like that on the bottle, but that's basically what it says. It says it's non-toxic. Your kid can eat it straight. Put it in his bottle. Test it out yourself. He'll be fine. So I haven't done that yet. I'm going to wait until he's like 16. I'm going to dare him to have a cup of it. But we buy the natural dish soap, and we needed more of it. We were running out. So we needed that. And then we realized that we formula feed our child. Don't worry about why. We just fucking do, okay? We just do. It just is what it is. And we realized that he was sucking formula out of his bottles like a hooker would suck cum out of a dick with a coffee stirrer, right? So it was Like that kind of shit. And we realized that maybe he needed an upgrade. Maybe it was time. He needed a little bit of a bigger spout on that shit. Give himself some breathing room. So we would get him the next size nipple up. And we did. We bought him. And we're having this conversation about weird combinations of shit that you can buy at the grocery store. And it occurred to us that just the phrase nipples in dish soap made us laugh. Right? And I said immediately, it's unlikely that I'll ever have a band again in my life. I used to sing for bands. You'll never hear any of it because we're never going to get anywhere. But it occurred to me immediately that if I was ever in another band again, that I would either have a song or I would have an album, or the band's name itself would be Nipples in Dish Soap. Because it was just so fucking ridiculously obscene. So we got both. And you know what? We got through scot clean. Not that it would actually cause anywhere near a similar strange reaction as lime, garbage bags, and rope would. But we still laughed nonetheless. And as we're going through the line, my wife turns to me and she says, I think you just found the title for your 4th episode. It has to be Nipples and Dish Soap. And that is how this episode came to be. So, I really appreciate everybody tuning in both live and on the download. Again, you can listen to the Newborn Father podcast or the Newborn podcast via youtube.com/the Newborn Father. You can go on Facebook to my page. It is facebook.com/ believe it or not, the Newborn Father. If you go to Twitter, you can find me on Twitter, but you're going to find me at Newborn Father, because not everything needs to be the Newborn Father, all right? So Twitter is just at Newborn Father. There's no the, because redundancy. We don't need the same flavor of shit over and over and over again, all right? So facebook.com/the Newborn Father, youtube.com/the Newborn Father, Twitter at Newborn Father. All right? It's all good. Relax. Or if you want to listen in live next time, it is also mixler.com/the Newborn Father. Soon, maybe next episode, maybe a couple episodes from now, I'm going to have some guests on. We'll see who they are. We'll see how they fall in line. I've talked to a few people about their interest in potentially jumping on, having conversations with me. Some people you may know, some people you may not, but they should all be interesting in their own way, shape, or form, and they should all have something insightful to say about fatherhood or parenthood or their experiences with kids, good and most assuredly bad or interesting or catastrophic or disastrous, given particular events as they get through their life as a parent. So, I am Remy, the Newborn Father. I really appreciate everybody listening live for any chunk tonight. Again, I will have this edited. I'll have this up on YouTube first at, again, youtube.com/the Newborn Father. I'll also have it on the Mixler as a download. And I'm working from now on getting up on, at the very least, Stitcher. That's my first and foremost. And then afterwards, I'll see about iTunes. But there's something about Apple I just don't trust. I've always been a much bigger fan of Starfruit. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, everybody. I really appreciate you guys listening in. Take care. I'll hear from you next time. Hear from you next time. Hear from you next time. Hear from you next time.